Hey, wake up. We got to talk about jury instruction.
Let's go. Oh, jury instructions. Hi, it's Mike Harris back with the What in the Law podcast. And in our last episode, I gave a little overview of what a jury trial is like and the parts of it. But I skipped something, and that's the jury instructions. And while it's not the most exciting part of a case, it's actually awful important. So let's talk a little bit about what that is and what you need to be aware of if you are looking at a possible trial. And jury instructions matter because that's what the jury votes on in deciding if you're guilty or not guilty. And there are several instructions, some of which are fairly routine, and then there's a few that are going to vary from case to case that you need to be aware of. Now, some of the more routine ones are things like defining what the burden of proof in a case is, things about witnesses and weighing evidence and right to remain silent or right to testify. And they're relatively routine from case to case. But in every case, there's going to be at least 1 and 3 instructions that are going to really matter for you that you need to pay attention to. And the first of those is defining what the charge is. That is called the elemental instruction, or they list the parts of a case or the elements of a charge that have to be proven against you. And paying very careful attention to that is very important, because that specifically says what it is you're accused of and the parts of what that offense is. And it includes things like defining if it was an intentional offense or a knowing offense or a reckless offense or something else, and defining exactly what the parts of the alleged offense are. And being aware of exactly what that is very important. The second part of the instruction is a definition. And that's the second main thing that you need to be aware of. Because in a case, sometimes regular words do not always mean what you think they are going to mean in court. And there are many offenses where they have specific definitions for certain words. And 2 common examples of words that don't mean what a lot of people think they mean are the word drive in a DUI case, which can mean a lot more than drive, and also the word injury in an assault case, which can be relatively broad. And there are other types of words that don't always mean what you expect. Sometimes the definitions are relatively straightforward, sometimes they're less so. And that also includes things like defining what intentional means, what a knowing offense means, and what recklessness means, and other things like that. The third type of instruction that you need to pay particular attention to is an affirmative defense instruction. Now, this does not exist in all cases, but in many cases it does. And what an affirmative defense is basically saying why you are justified in doing the act that you are accused of. The most common type is self-defense. And seeing the exact instruction of what that means is very important, because it can be a little different than what a lot of people might think, not having seen the actual instruction. So if you are facing a possible trial, it's good to know all those different instructions, but the 3 main things that you really need to be aware of is defining the offense, definitions of words, and if it exists, what type of affirmative defense there is and how that is defined. So that's a little bit about the jury instructions. And let me know what you think on these podcasts. Send me a comment. If you have any particular issues you would like to see covered, send a suggestion and we'll do an episode about it. So see you next time on What in the Law podcast.